Did you know that sex trafficking is one of the largest growing crimes in the entire world? The number one place predators find their victims nowadays are social media. This makes this issue very relevant to almost everyone, seeing as how most people are heavily involved with social media. There are numerous problems with sex trafficking in the United States. The ones I will be discussing are the laws that were created to protect sex trafficking victims and what is wrong with them, sex trafficking in everyday life, and ways to contribute and educate. First, let's examine how sex trafficking laws that were put in place to protect victims actually ended up being very detrimental. In the early 1900s, while social tensions grew surrounding women's sexualities, there were multiple laws put in place to protect women from sex trafficking, while at the same time penalizing them. In an article entitled "Online Sex Trafficking Hysteria, Flawed Policies, Ignore Human Rights and Censorship," Regina A. Russo discusses this White Slave Traffic Act. This act was put in place to protect innocent white girls from being lured into forced prostitution by foreign-born traffickers. It didn't help women of other ethnicities or even men. It was put in place to help, but it ended up criminalizing victims instead. Another problem is the criminalization of prostitution. Since prostitution was made illegal, a lot of victims of sex trafficking are charged with prostitution instead of being helped. They not only have to endure something as horrible as being sex trafficked, but they also have to face the consequences of something that they were forced to do. Next, I will tell you how common sex trafficking is in everyday life. Even though this is something so many people, mostly women, are affected by in their everyday lives, it is insanely underreported and understudied. According to Guardian Group in an article entitled "Sex Trafficking Statistics," sex trafficking is a complex crime that is underreported and understudied. However, progress is being made in trying to change this. Many people think it exclusively affects sex workers, or they think since the United States is such a developed country that it doesn't affect us as much, so they turn a blind eye to it. But it affects a lot of people in the United States. The average age of entry into the sex trade is 15-year-olds for females, and it is believed to be younger for males, with 1 in 6 being under the age of 12. And 99% of the victims are female. Some more statistics are, it has been reported in all 50 states, with more than 80% of the victims in United States citizens or illegally living here. 1 in 6 runaways will likely become a victim of sex trafficking, and 85% of the victims reported developing a close relationship with their trafficker. According to Deliver Fund in an article entitled "Human Trafficking Awareness," every 2.5 hours a child is taken by human traffickers. The lifespan for child victims in sex trafficking is only about 7 years, and every trafficked child is purchased for sex 5.4 times a day. Finally, I will discuss ways to try and help the cause. Although sex trafficking is scary and overwhelming, there are ways that you can work to at least improve the issue. In Kathleen M. Preble's, Mackenzie A. Cook's, and Brittany Folt's article entitled "Sex Trafficking and the Role of Institutions of Higher Education, Recommendations for Response and Preparedness," they discuss ways to contribute. The first way you can help is doing your research. It is a very difficult topic, so learn as much as you can to help yourself and others. Being educated will always benefit you in the long run. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services has articulated a call to action with its 4P policy: prevent, protect, prosecute, and partnership. Another way is educating others. Educating others will help spread the awareness. The less the topic is stigmatized, the more the change will be. In summary, sex trafficking is a terrible thing that unfortunately happens right under our noses every day. But through educating yourself and others, you will at least be able to contribute to furthering the importance and emphasis on this issue in our society. The 3 biggest problems surrounding sex trafficking in the United States are the laws put in place that actually hurt the victims, how commonly it happens without anyone noticing, and the lack of education surrounding it. Much like most difficult problems, it is heavily stigmatized, but by opening a conversation and Americans beginning to actively participate in the change, there will always be a start to an amazing movement to help the victims of these heinous acts.